Today, we're jumping straight into what I can only describe as a gripping, modern-day true crime thriller. We're going to break down the largest cryptocurrency heist in human history. And honestly, it's a terrifying look at how modern warfare doesn't always involve crossing physical borders or, deploying conventional troops. Let's dive right into the analysis of this unprecedented digital robbery, sticking strictly to the raw data, timelines, and facts pulled straight from FBI records, blockchain analysts, and international intelligence reports.
Okay, we absolutely have to start right here with this completely staggering figure. $1.5 billion. That represents the exact amount of money that vanished into thin air from Bybit, which is one of the world's biggest crypto exchanges based out of Dubai. And the craziest part, this didn't happen over weeks or months. On February 21st, 2025, this massive fortune literally evaporated in under 30 minutes.
What's really fascinating here is the sheer contrast between how we normally picture a robbery and what actually went down. I mean, if Bybit were a traditional bank, this theft would instantly go down as the largest bank robbery ever recorded by Guinness World Records. But, in a normal heist, you expect shattered vaults, blaring alarms, armed getaway cars, the whole shebang. In the Bybit heist, no guns were fired, no physical vaults were breached, not a single alarm went off in real time. The attackers executed this entire thing from thousands of miles away, sitting quietly in one of the most isolated and secretive nations on the planet.
So, the crucial vulnerability in this massive breach wasn't a shattered digital firewall or some brute force hack of an encrypted vault. Actually, the attackers didn't even exploit a bug in the core protocol. Instead, it was this incredibly elegant, patient manipulation of the human layer. They didn't break the system, right? They just made the system lie to the humans who were operating it. So let's move to Section 1. The state-sponsored Ghost Army. Meet the Lazarus Group.
We're talking about the Lazarus Group here. And, these aren't your typical basement hackers looking for a quick buck. They are a highly trained ghost army deployed with the full resources and strategic direction of the North Korean government, specifically operating under their Reconnaissance General Bureau. These are state-sponsored operatives educated from a very young age, purely in cyber warfare. Defectors have actually noted that they frequently operate abroad from places like China or Russia. To put their scale into perspective, by 2026, this single group was responsible for over 70% of all cryptocurrency exploits recorded globally. They are quite literally operating at an industrial scale.
This comparison right here brilliantly illustrates the terrifying escalation of their operations. In the entirety of 2024, North Korean hackers executed 47 separate crypto heists, stealing a massive total of $1.34 billion. But then, look at 2025. This single 30-minute heist at Bybit eclipsed everything they managed to steal throughout all 47 operations in the entire previous year. The escalation is just breathtaking.
Which brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of the Hack. The elegant supply chain attack.
First, we really need to understand the defense they were up against. Bybit used what's known as a multi-signature wallet, specifically a platform called SafeWallet. Think of it essentially like a giant digital bank vault. You can't just steal one person's password to get inside. Multiple different digital keys, held by completely different employees, must all be used to authorize any movement of funds. It's designed specifically to prevent unauthorized single point of failure transactions.
But when you break down the actual mechanics, you realize the hackers didn't break this multi-signature vault at all. They just bypassed it entirely. Step 1 was the supply chain attack. They compromised the laptop of a third-party developer associated with the wallet software, and then they just waited. Step 2 is where the dark magic happens, the poisoned interface. They swapped a totally legitimate JavaScript file for a malicious one. So when Bybit initiated a completely routine internal transfer, this poisoned code quietly substituted the real destination address with the hacker's address. Which leads to Step 3. 3 Bybit employees looked at their computer screens. The amounts looked right, the destination looked right, so they confidently approved the transfer. The system technically worked perfectly, but it authorized a completely fraudulent destination. And finally, Step 4. Boom. 500,000 Ethereum vanished instantly, dispersed forever across the blockchain.
All right, Section 3, the digital getaway, tracing the untraceable. The speed of the fallout and investigation was incredible. Bybit's CEO Ben Zhao realized the funds were missing on February 21st, and within just 24 hours, respected on-chain detective Zach XBT had already definitively connected the hack to the Lazarus Group. 5 days later, the FBI officially confirmed this and published 51 Ethereum addresses used by the hackers to warn the global ecosystem. But despite this incredibly rapid response, the harsh reality of crypto theft is that the Lazarus Group had already successfully laundered $300 million before the FBI even finished confirming who did it.
Now, to pull off that rapid laundering, they heavily relied on crypto mixers. A mixer is exactly what it sounds like. It takes cryptocurrency from thousands of different sources, pools it all together, shuffles it up, and spits equivalent amounts out to new addresses. It is basically the digital equivalent of throwing your marked stolen bills into a massive machine with thousands of other bills to break the tracking trail. The Lazarus Group frequently uses sanction mixers like Tornado Cash for this exact purpose. This laundering strategy builds a near impenetrable wall for investigators, and they do it through a highly structured 3-layer process. Layer 1 is chain hopping, rapidly converting the stolen Ethereum into Bitcoin and other currencies to just get it off the original blockchain. Layer 2 is obfuscation, using those crypto mixers we just talked about to shatter the transparent trail completely. And Layer 3 is liquidation, utilizing underground financial networks, particularly active in China, to convert that now untraceable digital token into physical, usable cash or assets. By the time the money hits that 3rd layer, it is basically impossible for international authorities to freeze it.
And this brings us to Section 4, the real stakes, funding the nuclear threat.
The real-world consequences of this are an absolute gut punch. Based on a 2024 United Nations panel report, 40% of North Korea's entire nuclear weapons and ballistic missile program is directly funded by illicit cyber activity. I mean, think about that. This money isn't funding lavish lifestyles for some cartel boss. It is literally being funneled into weapons development that keeps the entire global community on edge.
The sheer scale of this threat extends so far beyond just hacking a few exchanges. Since 2017, they've stolen over $6 billion. Their operational tempo has increased to the point where they are executing a major attack roughly every 20 days. And perhaps most alarmingly, they are actively infiltrating over 100 US technology companies. How? By planting remote IT workers who use fake identities purely to funnel legitimate, high-paying tech salaries back to Pyongyang. In response to all this, we are seeing major legislative pushback globally, including sanctions and pressure from US Senators Elizabeth Warren and Jack Reed, as well as sweeping sanctions from the Australian government, all desperately trying to cut off these illegal funding sources.
It really all circles back to this terrifyingly simple truth. The cryptographically secure, multi-signature system worked exactly as it was programmed to. But the hackers didn't need guns, and they didn't need to break the actual cryptography. They just needed one compromised laptop, a bit of swap JavaScript code, and 3 employees who had absolutely no reason to distrust the correct information shining brightly on their computer screens.
So, as you digest the implications of this unprecedented $1.5 billion heist, literally the largest single digital theft in human history, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Because the next time a missile test is announced on the news, it's worth remembering that a portion of it was paid for by a routine digital transaction quietly approved on a weekday morning. Will the next launch be funded by vulnerabilities in your digital wallet?